welcome to my new playlist, Camping with Booze. I've been doing a lot of videos that actually were about camping and was using them in my Biking with Booze playlist because in fact that's what they were really about. That is to experiment with camping with gear that I'm going to be able to fit on my bicycle to do some bike camping. But I decided to create a separate video because I tend to be making recently more videos about camping than I am about biking per se. So this video is a follow-up on my last video where I camped at James River State Park here near Lynchburg, Virginia in Gladstone, which is just up in Amherst County. Actually, it's in Nelson County, I believe. And I erected my tent, my Mountain Hardwear 30-plus-year-old tent, and without a fly, with the intention to put my tarp over it. There were no forecasts for rain, but I did this as an experiment. And so it was good because when I got to that camp, it was 90 degrees, which, you know, we were going through some seriously strange weather here in eastern North America in the United States. And it just re-emphasized how important it's going to be as we get into hotter weather, more consistent 90-degree temperatures, to have some good airflow in the tent. So I asked my son, asked anybody in my family. I'm a bag guy and a gadget guy. And so I've been looking at mesh tents, which are all pretty much totally mesh, and not a whole lot of privacy because you can see through the mesh, and use that in conjunction with a tarp. So I've got my 3x3 DD Hammock tarp, 3x3 being 3 meters by 3 meters, almost 10 by 10 feet, really 9 3/4 feet, I think, by 9 3/4 feet. So anyway, I ordered, and I just received the other day, my, what's it called, OneTigris Bug Net mesh tent. And this is the bag. So if you forget about this part, poles are coming out. That's the bag that it fits in. That's what the video you're going to see if you continue to watch. My erecting that bug net tent and then putting the tarp over it in a configuration that I am looking for. And so I'm going to do an overlay here of a sketch of what I'm trying to achieve, which I did not totally achieve in this first experiment with the bug net tent and my 3x3 tarp. So when I was finished, you'll see me in the video rolling up the tarp so it's a little bit longer than the bag that it originally came in. And the purpose for that is so it will fit in this, when it's closed down, 24-inch dry bag, which will go across my panniers on my bike. And so that was the purpose of trying to make it longer and not as fat, because it'll fit in with my tarp, my stakes and guylines, and my poles. So these are 2 poles that come in sections that are about 1.5 feet long each, and this is a top, and then the bottom has like a rubber bottom, and it's got 5 sections for each pole. So it'll go up to, I think, 6 feet 2 inches. And so you can make it as tall as you want it. 6 foot point. I tried 6.2 in this video before I started recording, I think, and it was just a little bit too tall. So I went to just 4 sections instead of 5, which I'd used in my previous video at James River Park. But anyway, I just wanted to introduce this video because I did not wear a mic, and I didn't intend to really record myself doing it. It turned out, I did this on the grounds of the retirement community where I live, where there happened to be 2 trees and a nice flat ground, 2 trees that I could put a guy line between, because I'm trying to experiment, do I use the guy line for the tarp? Do I use the guy line for the tent? In this case, I used the guy line for the tent. And I only have 2 poles. And I'm already up to about 50 pounds on my bike, so I don't think I want to get any more poles, but maybe I'll have to. I don't know. We'll see. I keep adding stuff, and then the weight just keeps going. Each thing is only a couple ounces, but, ounces add up to pounds, and pounds add up to a backache. So without further ado, we'll go into the video and you will see there's some humorous parts where the wind just took over, but it's a good place for me to experiment with these setups. And inevitably, residents come by and walking their dogs or whatever, and they ask, what, did I get thrown out of my apartment? Am I going to spend the night here? And no, I'm just experimenting with my different tarp configurations and so on. So we get on to the video. Okay, here I've taken the tent out of its bag and attaching it to the ridge line I put up between these two trees using a prusik knot, which allows me to connect the three attaching points that are on the top peak of the mesh tent. As you can see right through this mesh. And then the next thing is to, after the prusik knot lets me tension the line a little bit, holding the tent. Now the bottom of the tent it's called a bathtop, or a bathtub bottom, and I need to peg out each corner, and just trying to figure out where actually where the corners are so I can do that. I think in the future I would peg out the corners first and then put it up on the ridge line. It's just a matter of knowing just how high to make the ridge line. So we're getting that in, and notice the connectors for the bathtub base. There's one at the top of the bathtub edge and one at the bottom. And the reason for the bathtub is that it will keep moisture out, water out if it rains and so on, and bugs and so on. This tent has a great front, or rather side opening, which is huge, and that makes it really nice to be able to put in your gear, your sleeping gear, and your other gear that you have. In my case, maybe bags from my bicycle. And it also has openings at each end, as you'll see in a minute. So I get in there, and it's about, what did I figure, 80 inches long, so it's 7 feet 8 inches, or 6 feet 8 inches, and I'm 5'9" and a half, 5'9". You can close it from the inside, as you see here, as I'm doing, and it's 5 feet 2 inches wide, so it's certainly enough for two people. You can see the opening there at the one end, and there's another one on the other end. I could see that being useful. Right now in my tent, all I have is an end opening, no side opening like this one has. And then the zippers are good. They're not real substantial, but they slide very nicely and they seem sufficient. And now I'm getting the tarp out. This is my 3 meter by 3 meter, or 9 3/4 feet by 9 3/4 feet. People tend to think of it as a 10 by 10 tarp. And I've already got some connectors on it. This is where you'll see some of the issues I have in trying to put this tarp up. Again, it might be easier to put the tarp up first and put the tent underneath it. And part of what I said is I'm trying to figure out, do I want to connect the tent with the ridge line or the tarp with the ridge line? It's not always a good idea to put a tarp over a ridge line, because the ridge line, if it rains, the water can come down the ridge line and go under the tarp and then drip down on you in the tent. So, or in this case, in the tent. So that's not always a good idea. And so for the next several minutes, I am trying to get this thing spread out enough and figure out how I want to connect it. You notice that it slid down, and And then what I'm trying to do is put 2 poles up, and I put 4 sections of my 5-section poles to each of the front corners. There you go. So the wind blew it all off, and it becomes a real challenge when you're doing this as only one person. So that's getting this all up, and we'll see how it goes. So here I'm pulling out a guy line for the middle of the tarp. What I would actually do is look for a stick, if I don't have another pole, and I don't, look for a stick that I could use to prop that up instead of guying it out like that, because as you can see, it's really bending it down. So obviously some work to be done here to try to figure out the best way to put this up. So this is the bag that the OneTigris mesh tent, bug net tent came in, but it's actually bigger than my tarp tent. So I'm going to try folding it in half, and see if I can get it in this. This was actually for a tripod or something, and if I can get it in that, it'll go into my dry bag better, I think. So this is what I'm trying to do right now. So, see, it might be still too thick to do that. This actually might be a little bit too long. So, and I've heard from watching videos that getting it back in that original bag is a challenge. Of course, getting it into this bag may be a challenge as well. Easier to do this sitting on my chair. I don't think that's going to work. So I have to go back to plan A, which is putting it in the original bag. But maybe I can put it in. I think it's 24-inch dry bag. Use it on my bike. Back to thirds. Is that long? Right. So, as you can see, it is about a third longer than it was folded up all the right way. All right. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to having you come back again when I have another video.